We have reached the part of the podcast we're going to be talking some NASCAR, and who better to come on than Brandon, aka at Boston Boy 83. Brandon, how you doing today, my man?
Trying to regroup. Was hoping we'd extend that streak, but when a road racer SVG comes in, never heard of him, walks through the field and wins. It's hard to.
I mean, that was one of the most impressive things I've seen in a while. What he was able to do.
He was 17th with 23 laps left, and the passing there was difficult. And how that man drove from 17th to first in less than 23 laps is just. He showed the NASCAR drivers up. Even Chase was quoted, he's going to go back home and literally tell all his friends how he just kicked our ass and made us look bad.
Now, did you hear how Saturday night somebody snuck into the track and just was running their car?
No.
Yeah, this local cannabis shop here in Chicago, they have a race car, and the owner of the cannabis shop snuck into the track and just started running laps with his car.
That's hilarious.
I mean,
I will say we were looking very good, and where we got screwed in our picks is a bunch of guys made pit stops for pit strategy. Bell, a bunch of people, knowing that all these other guys were going to have to stop later and they were good on gas. They were fine. As soon as they pitted, they were going to stay out longer. But then a chunk of drivers, Chase, SVG, all these guys pitted. Right after they made a pit stop, NASCAR announces, hey, it's getting dark. We're shortening the race by 25 laps.
Yeah, which is just kind of bad luck. I mean,
it's bad. It's bad luck, but I think what NASCAR needs to do moving forward, throw a competition caution, announce it to everybody. Hey, right now we're cutting the race by 25 laps. All of you have an opportunity to pit or not pit right now.
Yeah.
So I'm with you that it's the luck of the draw. NASCAR made a quick call to make sure the race got in, but Bell dominated that race and nobody was going to touch him, not even SVG. And then all of a sudden he doesn't pit and they do that. So
yeah, and I mean that kind of was how he was able to make up that by not pitting, obviously.
Correct.
Not having Bell 20-1 hit the board was a big kick in the balls, but it is what it is. Overall, what did you think of the race?
I liked it because there's a lot more racing involved. I thought it was going to be a train, just a line of cars with narrow streets and no room to make moves, but there's a lot of passing. You can clearly tell who can't road race. Noah Gragson barreled into the same tire barrels 3 different times. It was interesting. I mean, I don't want NASCAR to move to a bunch of 3, 4, 5 different street races a year, but I would not be against one a year. Pick different cities.
Yeah, one a year. I think that's good. It was pretty big here in Chicago. Crowd was great. I'd love for it to come back. Hopefully the prices go down a little bit and I can make my way down to it next year.
I saw that 2-story building you were talking about. They made a big deal about that. They showed the food.
And the rain was insane there. Like,
yes,
the expressways were shut down here in Chicago. That's how bad the rain was. I didn't think they're going to run. Luckily, it stopped. And it was this weird thing where they only had 2 days. Their contract was with the city was like, look, you're running the third. No, what was it? The second or the third? You have to run the Sunday or the Monday. We can't extend it anymore.
No, or you're going to have to pay a fine. There's like this huge fine agreement if they extend it to Tuesday.
So I thought it went good. I hope it comes back. I think if they could add it to this, that'd be great. They used to have the race in Joliet, which is kind of close to Chicago, not really close. At that speedway there, they don't have that anymore. Then it was just Xfinity. Now there's nobody there. So they could have one here in Chicago. I think it'd be great.
Now I'd like to see them flips. Sorry, I'd like to see them go to different cities every year. Like Chicago is this year, Los Angeles next year, Texas. Like I'd like to see it jump around to different cities.
That'd be cool, but could they swing that though?
I don't know. They had 4.97 million viewers. It was the highest viewed NASCAR race since like the 2017, outside of the Daytona 500. It was the most watched race since 2017.
Wow.
So you know they're going to do something. They're at least going to come back to Chicago after those ratings and the drivers loving it. They can't not do this again.
Now, here's the story real quick. A man was arrested for reportedly driving on the NASCAR track race event set up in Chicago for the street races. Chicago police said the 46-year-old man was taken into custody. Preliminary investigation shows the man drove through the barrier, police said. The track was not in use at the time of the incident. Interesting.
Does it show what he drove?
Let me see if I can find what he drove. Car that broke into NASCAR track in Chicago. Let me see what we got here. A Corvette. All it says is a Corvette driver. That's all it says. All it says was a Corvette driver. No images of it. So, moving on, we're to Atlanta right now. What do you think of Atlanta? Kind of runs like a speedway, no?
A super speedway. Hot Atlanta. It's going to be really hot. Do like what NASCAR's done. They did it in Nashville, and they're doing it with Atlanta. Knowing how hot these two races are going to be, they're racing that night. So it's Sunday night at 6:30. It will be pack racing. It's a mixture. It's just a smaller Daytona Talladega. So going into this week, all your odds, the lowest odd is a 10-1 because that's what they do. It's a toss-up. So we've talked about it for years now. When we get to these tracks, we sprinkle a little bit everywhere because you can end up with some really high odds and a guy pull off a win. So Hot Atlanta, pack racing, the big one will happen. Roll the dice. No pun intended.
It's always good to roll the dice, man. You got to roll the dice. So I have 4 plays. You have how many plays, my friend?
I think 4. There might be a 5th, but right now I got 4.
Let you go first, my fan.
I am chasing the win at this driver is 55 points behind the cut line. There is a chance that he could get in on points. I still don't see it happening. He needs a win to get in. Had a terrible Chicago race. Still ended up 3rd. I'm going Chase Elliott himself at 10-1 odds. The number 9 needs to win to get in. What a better track than Hot Atlanta. Hendrick cars are amazing at super speedways. I have another Hendrick driver in my picks, but I'm starting number 9 himself. Chase finally gets the win and gets in.
My first one is I'm going Ryan Blaney 12-1. Last 6 races, best average finish. Only one finish outside the top 10. You look how he's done in super speedways this year. Finished 7th at Daytona, 2nd at Talladega. At Dega, he did lead 47 laps. He's one of the best super speed drivers there is in the circuit. Won the 2001 race. 5 out of his last 6, they've been top 10s at speedway. He's just really good at super speedways. I'm getting him at 12-1. I'm locking him in, man. Give it to me. Give me.
I had him on my list, but with you grabbing him, I'm going to pivot to my 5th that I thought I was going to do. So my second pick is going to be Alex Bowman at 25-1. Another Hendricks car, good at Atlanta, good at super speedways, always in the mix. People like working with him. He's great at drafting, pushing. He doesn't have any problems with anybody at this type of track. Excuse me. I am going with Alex Bowman in the 48 at 25-1.
My next one is I'm going to one of the hottest drivers and his current odds. I feel I have to do it. He was an absolute nightmare at the Chicago race, and I feel that's because we're getting him at 25-1. I'm talking about Martin Truex. 3rd best average finish here, 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s. I'm just looking at, I have a hot driver whose odds in my eyes are just too good to pass up. And for how much of a train wreck he was at Chicago, he's a little inflated. I'll take him 25-1.
All right. I'm going back down to the guy that dominated last week's race, Christopher Bell, 16-1. He's been hot. He hasn't been like the talk of the track and nothing like completely standing out, but he's been consistent. He's been running up front. He's also good at these tracks. He had a great outing in Chicago, and for them to still have him at 16-1 in what's going to be like a plate race, I like Christopher Bell at 16-1.
I like that. I like that a lot. My next one, this is my long shot here. And this is just, look, he ran good last week. He was actually in a position to win. Finished second. Good speedway driver. He won Daytona back in 2019. I'm going to take Haley at 50-1.
I love it. I love that pick. As soon as you said that, I love that pick.
He's just somebody who's done well at speedways, does well at street courses, young driver, insanely talented, and he's going to be in a position to win. Look, if you don't want to pay the 50-1, you want to play the 10-1, you could play that too. Yeah. But I have another guy I'm taking at 10-1, so I'll do Haley at 50-1 to win it all.
I like it. I'm jumping over the young gun who's been in the mix off and on. Very aggressive. I would go a Chastain type race or a Chastain pick this week. I'm not doing it, but I'm going to go with a guy that doesn't mind putting a bumper to somebody. I'm going with Ty Gibbs. Joe Gibbs' grandson, sitting at 33-1. He's going to be in great equipment. He's got the right teammates. And I could see this kid getting the win to get into the playoffs. He's up and down below the cut line. If he gets a win, he gets all that pressure off his back. It'd be his first one ever in a Cup Series, and what a better way to get it in Atlanta. Ty Gibbs, 33-1.
I like it. I was looking at him for my top 10 bet, but I pivoted to somebody else. You're talking young men. I'm talking old men. Give me Kevin Harvick, top 10 plus 170. Last year at this track, he's done well racing here. Let's look at his last 3 races. He finished 33 last time they raced here. He led laps, but he crashed. Year before, 12th. Year before that, 21. Finished 21st, but he led laps. He was in a position, bad pit stop.
Yep.
7 races prior to that, they were all top 10s. Fords are running well. He's running good in the track. Look, give me plus 170 here on Harvick to finish top 10.
I don't want to take credit for this if this happens, but if anybody wants to sprinkle a win in Kevin Harvick at 28-1, when Dale Sr. passed, Kevin Harvick took over. Kevin Harvick drove the 29 car. His first win in that car came at Atlanta Motor Speedway. His last race at Atlanta Motor Speedway ever is this Sunday. What a better way to start your career with a win at Atlanta, end your career with a win at Atlanta, get you into the playoffs. Like, I don't know. I don't want to add that to my list because I don't want to have 5, 6, 7 drivers. But if you're feeling yourself a little bit and you're on the whole storyline of how it started, how it finished, Kevin Harvick at 28-1 is a nice little juicy Uncle Kev to get him.
I like old Uncle Kev. So just to review. Oh, you have one more?
One more. My long shot, after slamming in the barrels 3 times last week, Noah Gragson at 80-1. His only shot, kind of like a Justin Haley at an off-road course, his only shot to get into the playoffs is going to be at a super speedway. If he can stay out of trouble and be there at the end, Noah Gragson at 80-1 is your long shot at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
So just to confirm, my picks are Haley 50-1, Blaney 12-1, Truex 25-1, Harvick top 10 plus 170. Mine is Noah Gragson at what?
80-1.
Next one was
Chase Elliott at 10-1.
Yep.
Christopher Bell 16-1.
Yep.
Alex Bowman 25-1. And you know what? Write down Harvick. I'm feeling happy. Happy Harvick. 28-1. Hopefully
we can bounce back. Best of luck. If you tail, best of luck to you, Brandon.
You as well.
And, let's cash some tickets and make some money. We'll talk next week, my friend.
Let's do it.